journey through time and mountains as we explore one of the world's most magnificent archaeological wonders, Machu Picchu. Often called the lost city of the Incas, this ancient citadel continues to captivate travelers, scholars, and dreamers from across the globe. Perched high in the Andes Mountains of Peru, this remarkable stone sanctuary stands as testimony to the ingenuity, craftsmanship, and spiritual vision of the Inca civilization. Today, we will embark on an extensive exploration of Machu Picchu, uncovering its rich history, architectural brilliance, cultural significance, and enduring mysteries. We'll walk through its stone pathways, examine its precise construction techniques, and contemplate the sacred connection between the citadel and the natural world that surrounds it. We'll also discuss its rediscovery by Hiram Bingham in 1911, and how this magnificent site continues to reveal its secrets to this day. As we begin this journey, I invite you to imagine yourself standing at the Sun Gate, looking down upon this ancient wonder for the first time. The morning mist slowly dissipates, revealing stone terraces and buildings, perfectly integrated with the surrounding mountain landscape. Birds soar through the valley below, and the sacred Urubamba River winds its way around the base of Machu Picchu Mountain. This first glimpse of Machu Picchu has moved countless visitors to tears, and it's this profound sense of wonder that we'll explore throughout our journey today. Let us begin with the geographical setting of this extraordinary place, and gradually work our way through its many fascinating aspects. Together, we'll uncover the magic and meaning of what many consider to be the most remarkable archaeological site in all of the Americas. The geographical location of Machu Picchu is itself a testament to the Incas' remarkable understanding of their environment. Situated approximately 7,970 feet above sea level, the citadel nestles on a mountain ridge above the sacred valley. The site lies 50 miles northwest of Cusco, the historic capital of the Inca Empire, and overlooks the Urubamba River, which the Incas call the Wilcamayo, or Sacred River. The setting is nothing short of spectacular. Machu Picchu sits in what's known as a cloud forest, a high-altitude tropical forest frequently enveloped in clouds and mist. This distinctive ecosystem creates a mystical atmosphere, with fog often rolling through the ruins in the early morning, gradually unveiling the stonework as the day progresses. The citadel is effectively sandwiched between two peaks, Machu Picchu Mountain to the south, and the iconic Sugarloaf Mountain of Huayna Picchu to the north. This strategic positioning offered natural protection, while also providing commanding views of the surrounding valleys and mountains. The steep slopes surrounding the site made it easily defensible, with limited access points that could be closely monitored. The climate here is mild, yet notably wetter than the areas around Cusco. This region receive significant rainfall, particularly during the wet season from November to April. The abundant precipitation, combined with the dramatic topography, created engineering challenges that the Incas overcame with remarkable ingenuity. The site's elaborate drainage systems, which we'll explore later, demonstrate their sophisticated understanding of hydraulic engineering. The natural beauty surrounding Machu Picchu is as breathtaking as the ruins themselves. The area hosts an astonishing diversity of plant and animal life. More than 370 species of orchids bloom in the vicinity, along with numerous other flowering plants, ferns, and trees adapted to this unique mountain ecosystem. The region is also home to the spectacled bear, the only bear native to South America, as well as the rare cock of the rock, Peru's national bird with its vibrant orange plumage. This rich biodiversity wasn't merely a backdrop for the Incas, but integral to their understanding of the sacred nature of the location. Many scholars believe that the specific placement of Machu Picchu was chosen not only for defensive or agricultural purposes, but also for its alignment with celestial bodies and other sacred mountains in the region. This connection between the natural and the built environment, between the earthly and the cosmic, defines much of what makes Machu Picchu so extraordinary. Before delving into the history of Machu Picchu itself, it's essential to understand the broader context of the Inca civilization that created it. The Inca Empire, known as Tawantinsuyu, or the Four Regions in Quechua, was the largest pre-Columbian empire in the Americas. At its height in the early 16th century, it stretched from what is now southern Colombia to central Chile, encompassing parts of modern-day Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Argentina. What's remarkable about the Inca Empire is how quickly it rose to prominence. While the Inca people had been present in the Cusco region since around the 12th century, their imperial expansion began in earnest only in the 1430s, under the leadership of Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui. Within less than 100 years, they had built an empire connected by more than 18,000 miles of roads, administering diverse populations and environments through a sophisticated governmental system. Pachacuti, whose name means he who remakes the world, is generally credited with both the imperial expansion and the construction of Machu Picchu. After ascending the power around 1438, he transformed the Incas from a regional state into an expansionist empire. Historical accounts suggest that Pachacuti had a vision for creating sacred spaces that would reflect the Incas' cosmology and consolidate their political power. The Inca civilization achieved remarkable feats without what we would consider essential technologies. They had no writing system as we understand it, though they used a system of knotted cords called quipus to record numerical information. They had no wheeled vehicles, no iron tools, and no draft animals except for llamas, which which could carry only limited loads. Despite these apparent limitations, they constructed monuments of such precision and beauty that they continue to amaze engineers and architects today. The social structure of the Inca Empire was highly organized and hierarchical. At the top stood the Sapa Inca, believed to be a direct descendant of the sun god Inti. Below him were the royal family, the nobility, and various administrative classes. The vast majority of the population consisted of farmers, artisans, and other workers, organized into units called elas, which were essentially extended family groups that held land collectively. Religion permeated every aspect of Inca life. They worshipped numerous deities, with Inti, the sun god, holding supreme importance. Other significant deities included Viracocha, the creator god, Pachamama, the earth mother, and Alapa, the weather god. Natural features such as mountains, rivers, and unusual rock formations were considered sacred, or wakas, and were incorporated into religious practices and site planning. This rich cultural, political, and religious context is essential for understanding why Machu Picchu was built, how it was designed, and what purposes it likely served. As we turn now to the history of Machu Picchu itself, keep in mind that we are examining a site created at the height of one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the pre-modern world. The precise history of Machu Picchu remains partially veiled in mystery, as the Incas left no written records. However, through a combination of archaeological evidence, Spanish colonial documents, and oral traditions, scholars have pieced together a compelling narrative of the site's origins and purpose. Construction of Machu Picchu likely began around 1450 CE, during the reign of Emperor Pachacuti. This dating has been established through radiocarbon analysis of human remains and artifacts found at the site. The construction would have been an enormous undertaking, requiring thousands of workers over many decades. The most widely accepted theory is that Machu Picchu served as a royal estate for Pachacuti and his descendants. It was not a typical city, nor was it primarily a military fortress, as was once believed. Rather, it appears to have functioned as a retreat where the emperor could rest, conduct religious ceremonies, and entertain guests. The relatively small size of the site suggests it probably housed no more than 750 people at its peak, many of whom would have been caretakers, priests, and specialized craftspeople. Evidence suggests that Machu Picchu was occupied seasonally, rather than year-round. The Inca nobility likely traveled there during specific times of the year, possibly to perform rituals tied to the agricultural calendar or celestial events. The site's careful astronomical alignments, which we'll explore in detail later, only 80 to 100 years. By the time the Spanish conquistadors arrived in Peru in the 1530s, the site appears to have been largely abandoned. The reasons for this abandonment remain unclear, though they may be connected to the smallpox epidemic that devastated the Inca population, or to the civil war that erupted between rival factions of the royal family. Crucially, unlike many other Inca sites, Machu Picchu was never found by the Spanish conquerors. Had they discovered it, they would likely have destroyed or significantly altered it, as they did with many important Inca sites, including temples in Cusco. This oversight by the Spanish is one of history's fortunate accidents, allowing the site to remain remarkably well preserved until its scientific rediscovery in the early 20th century. During the colonial period and the early years of Peruvian independence, Machu Picchu remained largely forgotten by the outside world. However, it's important to note that the site was never completely unknown to local residents. Some farmers and explorers in the region were aware of the ruins, and occasionally, adventurous travelers would visit the site. There are accounts of a few European visitors reaching Machu Picchu in the late 19th century, though they did not publicize their discoveries or recognize the site's historical significance. In the broader historical context, Machu Picchu represents one of the last expressions of Inca architectural and engineering genius, before European colonization dramatically altered the trajectory of Andean civilization. The site stands as testimony to what the Inca achieved at their cultural zenith, making it all the more valuable as a window into pre-Columbian American civilization. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most dramatic chapters in Machu Picchu's story, its rediscovery by the American explorer Hiram Bingham III in 1911. This event would transform Machu Picchu from a locally known ruin to one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world. Hiram Bingham III was an American academic, explorer, and politician who would later serve as a governor and senator from Connecticut. In the early 20th century, he developed a keen interest in South American exploration, particularly in tracing the final retreat of the Incas after the Spanish conquest. In 1911, Bingham organized an expedition to Peru, sponsored by Yale University and the National Geographic Society. His primary goal was to find Vilcabamba, the legendary lost city where the last Inca rulers had established their final stronghold against the Spanish. On July 24th, 1911, while exploring the remote Urubamba Valley, Bingham was led up the steep mountainside by a local farmer named Melchor Arteaga. At the top, Bingham encountered a small group of peasant families using the ancient agricultural terraces to grow crops. A young boy led him around the site, showing him the remarkable stone structures that were largely obscured by 5 centuries of jungle growth. Bingham later described his his first impression in his book Lost City of the Incas, writing, "It seemed like a dream. Here were the ruins of two small cities, built by Indians on the top of a ridge, 2,000 feet above the roaring rapids of the Urubamba River, and surrounded by some of the most inaccessible mountains of the Andes." Initially, Bingham believed he had found Vilcabamba. It wasn't until years later that scholars determined Machu Picchu was actually a different site entirely, and that the true Vilcabamba was elsewhere. Nevertheless, Bingham's discovery brought Machu Picchu to worldwide attention and secured his place in archaeological history. Following his initial discovery, Bingham returned with a well-equipped team in 1912, and again in 1914 and 1915. During these expeditions, his teams cleared the vegetation, mapped the ruins, conducted preliminary excavations, and took thousands of photographs. They also removed numerous artifacts and human remains, taking them back to Yale University for study, a controversial action that would lead to a lengthy repatriation dispute between Peru and Yale in the early 21st century. Bingham's work at Machu Picchu, while groundbreaking, reflected the archaeological standards of his time, which were less rigorous than modern practices. Some of his interpretations about the site have since been challenged or revised, but his documentation and photographs remain invaluable historical resources. The publication of Bingham's findings, particularly a feature article in the April 1913 issue of National Geographic magazine, created an international sensation. The remote Inca citadel captured the public imagination, with its dramatic setting and mysterious origins. It quickly became a symbol of the lost wonders of pre-Columbian America, and eventually, one of the most recognizable archaeological sites in the world. It's worth noting that Bingham's claim to have discovered Machu Picchu requires contextualization. The site was known to local residents, and some farmers were even living among the ruins when Bingham arrived. Additionally, maps from the late 19th century show the location marked, and there are records of a few European visitors reaching the site before Bingham. What Bingham did accomplish, however, was bringing Machu Picchu to worldwide scientific attention, documenting it systematically, and ensuring its preservation as an archaeological treasure. His work represents the beginning of modern scientific study of the site, a process that continues to this day as archaeologists use increasingly sophisticated technologies to unlock Machu Picchu's secrets. The story of Bingham and Machu Picchu also reflects broader themes in the history of archaeology and exploration. It occurred during an era when Western explorers were racing to document ancient sites around the world, sometimes with more enthusiasm than cultural sensitivity. Today, the ethics of archaeological exploration and the ownership of cultural heritage are approached with much greater awareness of indigenous perspectives and rights. In the decades following Dingham's expeditions, Machu Picchu underwent extensive restoration and study. The Peruvian government recognized its importance, not only as an archaeological treasure, but as a powerful symbol of national identity and pride. Major restoration projects were undertaken in the 1940s and again in the 1960s and 1970s, carefully rebuilding collapsed structures and clearing remaining vegetation. Now that we've explored the rediscovery of Machu Picchu, let's turn our attention to one of its most fascinating aspects, its extraordinary architecture and urban planning. The design of Machu Picchu reveals the sophisticated aesthetic sensibilities, engineering prowess, and cosmological understanding of the Inca civilization. Machu Picchu covers an area of about 5 square miles, including the built urban center and the surrounding agricultural terraces. The main urban area is divided into 2 major sectors, often referred to as the agricultural sector and the urban sector. These are further subdivided into smaller districts, each with distinct functions. The agricultural sector consists primarily of terrace fields that cascade down the mountainside in graceful curves. These terraces, called montañas in Spanish, serve multiple purposes. They created level surfaces for farming in the steep terrain, prevented soil erosion, and improved drainage during the rainy season. The engineering of these terraces is remarkable, with carefully designed layers of stone, gravel, sand, and soil that facilitated drainage while retaining sufficient moisture for crops. The urban sector contains approximately 200 structures, arranged around central plazas and connected by a network of paths and stairways. These buildings include residences of varying sizes and levels of refinement, temples, storage facilities, and other specialized structures. The architecture follows the characteristic Inca style, with carefully fitted stone walls, trapezoidal doors and niches, and thatched roofs that have long since disappeared. One of the most distinctive features of Machu Picchu's urban layout is its organization along an east-west axis, with major structures aligned to correspond with the movements of celestial bodies. This alignment reflects the Inca's sophisticated astronomical knowledge, which was integral to their agricultural and religious practices. The quality of stonework at Machu Picchu varies according to the importance of the structure. The most sacred and significant buildings display the classic Inca fine masonry, with massive stones cut and fitted together so precisely that even today, it's impossible to insert a knife blade between them. Less important structures feature rougher stonework, though still impressive by any standard. Among the most remarkable structures at Machu Picchu is the Intihuatana, often called the hedging post of the sun. This carved stone pillar was likely used as an astronomical observation point and calendar. Its angles and planes align with the sun's position during key dates of the year, such as the solstices and equinoxes. The Temple of the Sun is another extraordinary structure, featuring some of the finest stonework on the site. Its curved wall contains a window precisely positioned to illuminate the temple interior at sunrise during the June solstice. This sophisticated understanding of astronomy and its integration into architecture demonstrates the Inca's unified worldview, where science, religion, and daily life were seamlessly connected. The Temple of the Three Windows, situated on the sacred plaza, contains three large trapezoidal windows that open onto the eastern mountains. According to some interpretations, these windows represent the three caves from which the first Inca ancestors supposedly emerged, or possibly the three realms of the Inca cosmology: the underworld, the earthly world, and the upper world. Another fascinating area is the Royal Residential Sector, which contains structures that likely housed the Inca elite during their stays at Machu Picchu. These buildings feature more refined stonework, better drainage systems, and more comfortable living spaces than other residential areas. They also offer the best views of the surrounding mountains, reflecting the hierarchical nature of Inca society. The Sacred District, located at the northern end of the urban area, contains many of the site's most important religious structures. In addition to the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Three Windows, this area includes the principal temple, the Temple of the Condor, and various wakas, or sacred stones. The concentration of religious buildings in this sector underscores the spiritual significance of Machu Picchu. One of the most distinctive features throughout the site is the extensive network of water channels and fountains. The Incas engineered a sophisticated hydraulic system that captured water from natural springs on the mountain and distributed it throughout the citadel. This system provided drinking water, supported ritual bathing, and helped irrigate the agricultural terraces. Even after more than 5 centuries, many of these channels still function during a rainy season, a testament to the quality of the Inca engineering. The architectural achievement of Machu Picchu becomes even more impressive when we consider the logistical challenges involved in its construction. The stones used in building the citadel were primarily quarried on site from the ridge itself. However, this required an enormous amount of labor to extract, shape, and move these massive blocks without the use of wheeled vehicles or draft animals. Some of the larger stones at Machu Picchu weigh several tons, yet the Incas moved them with remarkable precision, likely using a combination of ramps, levers, and manpower. The fact that they accomplished this in such challenging terrain, at such high altitude, and with such mathematical precision, speaks to their exceptional engineering knowledge and organizational capabilities. Equally impressive is how the Inca architects integrated their structures with the natural environment. Rather than imposing a rigid grid on the landscape, they allowed the topography to guide their design. Buildings follow the contours of the ridge, and in many cases, natural rock outcroppings are incorporated into structures. This approach reflects the Inca worldview, which saw a deep connection between the built environment and the natural world. Another remarkable aspect of Machu Picchu's architecture is its seismic resistance. The region is prone to earthquakes, and the Incas developed building techniques specifically designed to withstand tremors. These include slightly inclined walls, rounded corners, and the famous floating foundations that allow stones to move slightly during an earthquake and then settle back into place. The technique known as ashlar masonry, where stones are cut to fit together without mortar, also provides flexibility during seismic events. Having explored the architecture of Machu Picchu, let's delve deeper into the remarkable construction techniques that made this engineering marvel possible. The stonework at Machu Picchu represents one of history's greatest achievements in masonry, combining technical precision with artistic sensitivity. The Incas developed different types of stonework for different purposes. The most refined style, reserved for temples and important structures, is known as imperial or polygonal masonry. In this technique, large stones are cut into complex polygonal shapes that interlock like puzzle pieces. The precision is so extraordinary that the joints between stones are often almost invisible, and no mortar was needed to hold them together. How exactly did the Incas achieve such precision without modern tools? Archaeological evidence suggests they used a combination of stone, bronze, and copper tools for quarrying and shaping. Stone hammers would be used for initial rough shaping, followed by more precise work with bronze chisels. For the final fitting, stones would be repeatedly test-fitted and further refined until the desired precision was achieved. Some scholars believe the Incas may have used techniques involving the repeated lifting and dropping of stones onto each other to achieve the perfect fit. Others suggest they may have created clay models of the stones to plan their cutting. What's certain is that achieving such results required not only technical skill but extraordinary patience and precision. For buildings of lesser importance, the Incas used simpler masonry styles. These include cellular polygonal masonry, with smaller stones fitted together, and purer masonry, a rougher style using stone and clay mortar. This hierarchy of construction techniques reflected the social organization and sacred geography of the Inca world. Another distinctive feature of Inca stonework is the trapezoidal shape of doors, windows, and niches. These openings are narrower at the top than at the bottom, creating a distinctive architecture architectural profile that appears throughout the site. This design wasn't merely aesthetic but served practical purposes, providing greater stability during earthquakes and supporting the weight of the massive stone lintels above the openings. The Incas also employed a construction technique called rock melting for some of their most important structures. In this process, they would create a depression in one stone and a corresponding protrusion in another, forming what engineers call a male-female joint. These protrusions, or keys, lock the stones together, providing additional stability during earthquakes. The roofs of buildings at Machu Picchu were made of wood and thatch, materials that haven't survived the centuries. However, we can see the gabled ends of many structures, with small cylindrical stones projecting from the tops of walls. These stone pegs, called hastening pins, were used to secure the wooden roof beams. Beyond individual buildings, the overall site planning at Machu Picchu demonstrates sophisticated understanding of landscape architecture. The Incas created a system of terraces that not only provided agricultural space but also prevented erosion and stabilized the ridge itself. Without these terraces, the mountain slope might have collapsed long ago under the weight of the structures and the pressure of heavy seasonal rains. The drainage system throughout Machu Picchu is another engineering triumph. More than 130 drainage channels run beneath the site, directing rainwater away from buildings and plazas. These channels were carefully designed to minimize erosion, with stones placed to reduce the water's velocity. During the rainy season, when Machu Picchu receives significant precipitation, this drainage system continues to function effectively, protecting the site from water damage. The water supply system is equally impressive. The Incas channeled water from a natural spring located on the north slope of Machu Picchu mountain. This water was directed through a stone canal approximately 2,600 feet long, entering the city at the agricultural terraces. From there, it flowed through a series of 16 fountains, or ceremonial baths, arranged in descending order through the urban sector. This fountain system served both practical and ritual purposes. It provided drinking water for the inhabitants, but the stepped design, with each fountain slightly lower than the previous one, also had symbolic significance related to the Inca reverence for water. Many scholars believe that the movement of water through the site was integrated into religious ceremonies, particularly those connected with fertility and agricultural abundance. The transportation infrastructure at Machu Picchu is another remarkable feature. The site is crisscrossed with more than 100 stairways, comprising an estimated 3,000 individual steps. These stairs connect different levels and sectors of the city, accommodating the steep topography of the ridge. Many stairways are carved directly into the bedrock, while while others are constructed as part of buildings or terraces. Machu Picchu is also connected to the broader Inca road system, known as the Capac Neon. This extensive network of roads and paths, spanning over 18,000 miles throughout the Andes, link the far reaches of the empire to the capital at Cusco. Several trails converged at Machu Picchu, including the famous Inca trail that modern hikers follow today. These roads weren't built for wheeled vehicles, which the Incas didn't use, but for foot traffic and llama caravans. Many sections include stone steps to navigate steep terrain, with drainage channels to prevent erosion during the rainy season. The engineering of these mountain paths, traversing some of the world's most challenging terrain, is yet another testament to Inca ingenuity. Now that we've examined the physical construction of Machu Picchu, let's explore its deeper cultural and spiritual significance. To truly understand this ancient citadel, we must consider how it embodied Inca cosmology and served as a nexus between the natural and supernatural worlds. For the Incas, Machu Picchu wasn't merely a royal estate or retreat. It was a sacred landscape, carefully designed to honor their gods and express their understanding of the cosmos. The site's location, layout, and even individual buildings reflect deep religious and astronomical principles. Central to Inca cosmology was the concept of the three vertically arranged worlds. Hanan Pasha, the upper world of celestial deities. K Pasha, the middle world of human existence. And Yuku Pasha, the underworld associated with the dead and fertility. Mountains were seen as connections between these worlds, places where humans could communicate with deities. This helps explain why the Incas built Machu Picchu on a mountain ridge, surrounded by peaks they considered divine. The mountains surrounding Machu Picchu weren't merely a scenic backdrop, but were themselves objects of worship. These sacred mountains, or apis, were believed to be home to powerful spirits that controlled weather, water, and fertility. Each major mountain had its own identity and was honored with offerings and ceremonies. Particularly significant is the relationship between Machu Picchu and the mountain Huayna Picchu, which looms over the northern end of the site. This distinctive peak appears in the background of countless photographs of the ruins. Its name means young peak in Quechua, complementing Machu Picchu, which means old peak. Together, they form a symbolic pairing that may represent cosmic duality, a concept important in Andean thought. Water features prominently in the sacred landscape of Machu Picchu. The Urubamba River, which wraps around three sides of the mountain on which Machu Picchu sits, was considered highly sacred. The Incas saw this river, which they called Wilcamayu, as a terrestrial reflection of the Milky Way, connecting the earthly and celestial realms. numerous fountains and water channels at Machu Picchu weren't merely functional but had ritual significance. Water was associated with fertility, and controlled water flow represented the Inca's ability to harness natural forces. Some scholars believe that ritual bathing was an important activity at the site, possibly connected with purification ceremonies or worship of water deities. Astronomical alignments are another crucial aspect of Machu Picchu's sacred geography. The Incas were sophisticated astronomers who tracked the movements of the sun, moon, and stars to create calendars for agricultural and religious purposes. Many structures at Machu Picchu appear oriented to mark solstices, equinoxes, or other celestial events. The Intihuatana stone is perhaps the most famous astronomical feature at the site. Its name, meaning hitching post of the sun in Quechua, suggests its function in Inca astronomy. During the winter solstice, the stone casts no shadow at midday, suggesting it served as a solar marker. Some researchers believe it functioned as a kind of astronomical clock or calendar, though its exact purpose remains debated. The Temple of the Sun also demonstrates precise astronomical knowledge. Its curved wall contains a window positioned to capture the first rays of the rising sun during the June solstice. This alignment would have been particularly significant because the June solstice marks the beginning of the Inca New Year. The play of light and shadow through this window would have created a dramatic visual effect during important ceremonies. Beyond specific structures, the entire layout of Machu Picchu seems organized around cardinal directions and cosmic principles. The main axis of the site runs roughly north-south, with important ceremonial buildings clustered in the northern sector. Some researchers have suggested that the layout mirrors constellations important to Inca mythology, though these theories remain speculative. Religious ceremonies would have been central to life at Machu Picchu. The Incas practiced a complex religion that included ancestor worship, veneration of natural features, and elaborate rituals honoring various deities. Based on Spanish colonial accounts of Inca practices elsewhere, ceremonies at Machu Picchu likely involved offerings of food, chicha, corn beer, textiles, and possibly animal sacrifices. Human sacrifice, while less common than in some other pre-Columbian cultures, did occur in Inca religion. The practice known as capicoca involved the sacrifice of children at high mountain locations. However, there is little evidence that such sacrifices were conducted at Machu Picchu itself, though they might have taken place on the surrounding peaks. The cultural significance of Machu Picchu extended beyond religion to encompass social and political dimensions. As a royal estate, it likely served as a retreat where the Inca ruler could conduct important diplomatic meetings, host foreign dignitaries, and demonstrate the power and sophistication of the empire. The impressive art architecture and dramatic setting would have conveyed the message that the Inca ruler possessed both divine authority and impressive resources. For the people who lived and worked at Machu Picchu, the site would have been imbued with profound meaning. Daily activities such as farming, cooking, and crafting were integrated with spiritual practices. The boundaries between sacred and secular, so distinct in modern Western thought, were likely much more fluid in Inca culture. Today, Machu Picchu continues to hold deep cultural significance for indigenous Andean peoples. Many Quechua and Aymara communities maintain spiritual practices connected to the mountains, earth, and sky. For them, Machu Picchu isn't merely a historical monument but a living connection to their ancestral heritage. Having explored the cultural and spiritual dimensions of Machu Picchu, let's now examine some of the enduring mysteries that continue to fascinate archaeologists, historians, and visitors alike. Despite a century of scientific study, many questions about this extraordinary site remain unanswered. Perhaps the most fundamental mystery is the exact purpose of Machu Picchu. While most scholars now agree it served as a royal estate for the Emperor Pachacuti and his lineage, this broad characterization leaves many specifics unclear. Was it primarily a religious center, an astronomical observatory, a military outpost, or some combination of these functions? Various theories have been proposed, but without written records from the Incas themselves, definitive answers remain elusive. Another persistent question concerns the site's abandonment. Why was Machu Picchu apparently deserted before the Spanish conquest? Some scholars suggest that a smallpox epidemic, which ravaged the Andes after European contact but before Spaniards physically reached many areas, might have decimated its population. Others propose that the civil war between rival Inca factions in the 1530s disrupted the imperial system that supported the site. The transportation of massive building stones remains another intriguing puzzle. While we know the Incas didn't have wheeled vehicles or large draft animals, the precise methods they used to move stones weighing many tons up steep mountain slopes are still debated. Experimental archaeology has demonstrated various techniques using ropes, wooden rollers, and ramps, but the exact procedures employed at Machu Picchu remain speculative. The precision of Inca stonework presents yet another mystery. How did they achieve such perfect fits between massive stones using only stone and bronze tools? Some researchers have suggested they may have used abrasive sand to grind stone surfaces against each other, while others propose they may have employed techniques to soften the stone surface temporarily. The craftsmanship is so extraordinary that it has even spawned pseudoscientific theories involving alien assistance, though these are universally rejected by scholars. The role of women at Machu Picchu has been a subject of recent archaeological interest. Hiram Bingham initially believed that many of the skeletons found at the site were female, leading to his hypothesis that it was home to the Virgins of the Sun, women who served in religious roles. Modern analysis has revealed a more balanced gender distribution, raising new questions about the social organization of the site. The astronomical alignments at Machu Picchu continue to provoke debate among researchers. While some alignments, such as the June solstice sunrise at the Temple of the Sun, seem clearly intentional, others are more ambiguous. How comprehensive was the astronomical planning of the site? Did it track lunar cycles, planetary movements, or just solar events? Ongoing research using computer modeling and field observations is gradually clarifying these questions. The relationship between Machu Picchu and other Inca sites in the region is another area of active investigation. The citadel was not isolated but part of a network of settlements, religious centers, and agricultural areas connected by the Inca road system. Sites such as Choqquequirau, the Coast, and Espiritu Pampa may have had administrative or religious connections to Machu Picchu, forming a larger sacred landscape. Particularly intriguing is the site's name itself. Machu Picchu is a modern Quechua name meaning old peak or old mountain. But what did the Incas themselves call this place? Some historical documents suggest names like Padalacta or Lactapata for settlements in the region, but the original name of what we now call Machu Picchu remains unknown. The purpose of certain unusual structures at the site continues to puzzle archaeologists. For instance, the function of the so-called Temple of the Moon, a cave with fine stonework located on the northern face of Huayna Picchu, remains unclear. Similarly, the exact purpose of the prison group, with its unusual underground chambers, is still debated. Even the chronology of construction at Machu Picchu isn't fully resolved. While most scholars agree the site was built in the mid-15th century during Pachacuti's reign, the sequence of construction and any later modifications aren't clearly understood. Was the entire site planned from the beginning, or did it evolve over time? Did subsequent Inca rulers add to or alter the original design? Modern archaeological techniques are gradually shedding light on these and other mysteries. Ground-penetrating radar, LiDAR scanning, and other non-invasive technologies allow researchers to examine aspects of the site without disturbing it. DNA analysis of human remains provides insights into the origins and relationships of the people who live there. Each new study adds pieces to the puzzle, though a complete picture may never emerge. The enduring mysteries of Machu Picchu are part of what makes the site so compelling. They remind us that despite our modern technologies and scientific methods, we still have much to learn about ancient civilizations and their achievements. The questions that remain unanswered invite continued research, encourage multidisciplinary approaches, and inspire wonder at what the human mind and hand can create. Now let's turn our attention to the modern context of Machu Picchu, exploring how this ancient citadel has become one of the world's most visited archaeological sites, and examining the challenges and opportunities this presents. Since its scientific rediscovery in 1911, Machu Picchu has undergone a remarkable transformation from a remote ruin to a global cultural icon. In 1981, Peru declared the historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu, encompassing both the built environment and the surrounding natural area. In 1983, UNESCO recognized its extraordinary value by inscribing it on the World Heritage List as both a cultural and natural site, one of the few places in the world with this dual designation. Tourism to Machu Picchu has grown exponentially over the decades. In the 1980s, the site received approximately 100,000 visitors annually. By 2019, before the COVID-19 pandemic temporarily halted travel, this number had swelled to approximately 1.5 million visitors per year. The site has become Peru's most visited tourist attraction and a bucket list destination for travelers worldwide. This tourism boom has brought both benefits and challenges. On the positive side, Machu Picchu has become a major economic engine for Peru, generating hundreds of millions of dollars annually in tourism revenue. The site provides employment for thousands of people, from tour guides and archaeological staff to hotel workers and transportation providers. The international attention has also helped fund conservation efforts and archaeological research. However, vast tourism has created significant pressure on the fragile archaeological site and its surroundings. Physical impacts include erosion of pathways, wear on stone structures, and stress on the site's ancient drainage system. The vibrations from thousands of daily visitors may be gradually destabilizing some structures, and increased humidity from human breath and perspiration is affecting the microclimate within buildings. The environmental impacts extend beyond the ruins themselves to the surrounding ecosystem. The historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu encompasses nearly 33,000 hectares of mountain terrain, containing rare species of flora and fauna. Tourism infrastructure, including hotels, restaurants, and transportation systems, has placed pressure on this delicate environment. Issues include water pollution, habitat fragmentation, and improper waste disposal. In response to these challenges, Peruvian authorities have implemented various management measures. Since 2017, visitors must enter with an official guide, follow designated pathways, and adhere to specific time slots. Daily visitor numbers are now capped, though the appropriate limit remains a subject of debate among conservationists, tourism operators, and government officials. Access to Machu Picchu has also evolved significantly. The majority of visitors arrive via train to the town of Aguas Calientes, followed by a bus right up the switchback road to the site entrance. A significant minority choose to hike the Inca Trail, a multi-day trek along ancient pathways that culminates with arrival at Machu Picchu through the Sun Gate. This route is now strictly regulated, with limited daily permits and requirements to travel with authorized tour companies. The town of Aguas Calientes, also known as Machu Picchu Pueblo, has grown dramatically to accommodate the tourism industry. What was once a small settlement has become a bustling hub with dozens of hotels, restaurants, and souvenir shops. The town's development has been somewhat haphazard, leading to concerns about environmental impact and aesthetic appropriateness in the vicinity of a World Heritage Site. In recent years, there has been increasing emphasis on sustainable tourism practices at Machu Picchu. This includes improved waste management, energy efficiency measures, and programs to educate visitors about the site's cultural and ecological significance. There are also efforts to distribute tourism more evenly throughout the year and to promote alternative archaeological sites in the region to reduce pressure on Machu Picchu itself. The COVID-19 pandemic, while devastating for the tourism industry, provided an unexpected opportunity to reassess visitor management at the site. When Machu Picchu reopened in November 2020, after months of closure, it did so with significantly reduced capacity and enhanced health protocols. Some conservation experts have advocated maintaining lower visitor numbers permanently to better protect the site. The relationship between Machu Picchu tourism and local indigenous communities presents another complex dimension. While tourism has created economic opportunities, questions remain about whether benefits are equitably distributed and whether indigenous perspectives are adequately represented in site management and interpretation. There are growing efforts to incorporate Quechua cultural knowledge and to ensure that local communities have meaningful participation in decision-making. Another significant development in recent years was the resolution of a long-standing dispute between Peru and Yale University regarding artifacts removed by Hiram Bingham. In 2010, after years of negotiation, Yale agreed to return thousands of artifacts to Peru. These items, including ceramic vessels, tools, jewelry, and human remains, are now housed in a museum in Cusco, allowing them to be studied and appreciated in their country of origin. Climate change poses yet another challenge for the preservation of Machu Picchu. Increased rainfall and more extreme weather events threaten the site's delicate drainage systems and could potentially destabilize the mountainside on which it sits. rising temperatures are also altering the ecosystem of the surrounding sanctuary, affecting plant and animal species that have thrived there for centuries. Despite these challenges, Machu Picchu remains a powerful symbol of Peru's cultural heritage and a source of national pride. The site appears on the national currency, in tourism promotions, and throughout popular culture. For many Peruvians, it represents not just the achievement of their Inca ancestors, but also the enduring creativity and resilience of Andean civilization. As we look to the future, the management of Machu Picchu will continue to balance preservation with access, scientific research with tourism development, and global interest with local stewardship. The challenge is to ensure that this extraordinary achievement of human creativity can be appreciated by future generations without being loved to death by the present one. Having explored Machu Picchu's history, architecture, cultural significance, enduring mysteries, and modern context, let's now expand our view to consider how this site relates to other Inca and pre-Inca sites in the region. Machu Picchu was not an isolated creation, but part of a rich tapestry of Andean civilizations that spanned thousands of years. The Sacred Valley, which stretches roughly from Cusco to Machu Picchu, contains numerous important archaeological sites that help contextualize the famous citadel. Kayak, about 20 miles northeast of Cusco, features impressive agricultural terraces, ceremonial baths, and a temple complex dedicated to the sun. Its architectural style and construction techniques closely resemble those seen at Machu Picchu, suggesting they were built during the same period under similar imperial direction. Ollantaytambo, located about midway between Cusco and Machu Picchu, is another major Inca site that shares architectural features with the famous citadel. It served as both a temple complex and a fortress, and was the site of a rare Inca military victory against Spanish forces during the conquest period. The massive stone terraces and the Temple of the Sun at Ollantaytambo demonstrate the same extraordinary masonry seen at Machu Picchu. Choqquequirao, often called the sister city of Machu Picchu, is perched on a ridge across the Apurimac Valley. Much larger than Machu Picchu but far less visited due to its remote location, this site requires a challenging multi-day trek to access. Architectural similarities suggest it was built during the same period, possibly as part of the same royal estate system. The true last city of the Incas was likely Vilcabamba, or Espiritu Pampa, where the Neo-Inca state established its final capital after retreating from Cusco. This site, located in dense jungle about 80 miles west of Machu Picchu, was actually the target of Hiram Bingham's original expedition. Although he briefly visited it in 1911, he incorrectly identified Machu Picchu as Vilcabamba, a misconception that persisted for decades. provide important context for understanding Machu Picchu. The Temple of the Sun, or Coricancha, now partially covered by the Spanish colonial church of Santo Domingo, was the most important temple in the Inca Empire. Its precisely fitted stonework and astronomical alignments prefigure similar features at Machu Picchu. Looking beyond the Inca period, the Andean region has a rich archaeological heritage spanning thousands of years. The Chaban civilization flourished from approximately 900 to 200 BCE, leaving impressive temples and distinctive art featuring feline imagery. The Wari Empire controlled much of the Peruvian highlands from 600 to 1000 CE, establishing administrative centers and agricultural innovations that the Incas would later build upon. The Tiwanaku civilization, centered near Lake Titicaca in modern Bolivia, developed sophisticated stone-cutting techniques and monumental architecture between 300 and 1000 CE. Some scholars suggest that their stoneworking methods may have influenced later Inca practices, including those employed at Machu Picchu. Closer to the time of the Incas, the Chachapoya people, known as the Cloud Warriors, built impressive structures in the northern Peruvian highlands. Their fortress of Kulab, sometimes called the Machu Picchu of the North, features massive stone walls and hundreds of circular buildings. The Chachapoya were conquered by the Incas shortly before the Spanish arrival. On the coast of Peru, civilizations such as the Moche, Nazca, and Chimú developed distinct architectural styles and cultural practices. The adobe city of Chan Chan, built by the Chimú around 850 CE, was the largest pre-Columbian city in South America. These coastal cultures were eventually incorporated into the Inca Empire, contributing their artistic and technological traditions to the broader imperial culture. Understanding this deeper archaeological context helps us appreciate Machu Picchu not as an isolated wonder but as the culmination of thousands of years of Andean architectural and engineering development. The Incas built upon the achievements of earlier civilizations, refining techniques and adapting them to their imperial needs and cosmological vision. This broader perspective also reminds us that while Machu Picchu is justifiably famous, it represents just one facet of the remarkably rich archaeological heritage of the Andes. Hundreds of other sites, many still being studied or even undiscovered, contribute to our understanding of pre-Columbian American civilizations. Each offers its own insights into how ancient peoples adapted to challenging environments, developed sophisticated technologies, and created meaningful cultural and religious systems. Now, let's delve deeper into the daily life of those who inhabited Machu Picchu during its brief but significant occupation. Archaeological evidence provides glimpses into how people lived, worked, and worshipped at this remarkable mountain citadel. Based on the architectural Machu Picchu appears to have had a population of approximately 750 to 1,000 people during its peak occupation. However, this population was likely not static, with numbers fluctuating seasonally, especially when the emperor and his entourage were in residence. The social composition of Machu Picchu was diverse, reflecting the hierarchical nature of Inca society. At the top were members of the royal family and nobility, who would have occupied the finest buildings in the urban sector. Below them were religious specialists, administrators, and skilled craftspeople. The largest group would have been the workers who maintained the buildings, tended the agricultural terraces, and provided various services. Analysis of human remains found at Machu Picchu suggests that most residents were not native to the immediate area but came from various parts of the Inca Empire. This reflects the Inca practice of relocating loyal populations to newly established imperial centers. Interestingly, the skeletal evidence indicates that the population included both men and women in roughly equal numbers, contradicting earlier theories that the site was primarily occupied by chosen women or virgins of the sun. The daily rhythm of life at Machu Picchu would have been governed by the rising and setting of the sun. People likely awoke at dawn to begin their daily tasks, taking advantage of daylight hours. Without electricity, activities would have been limited after sunset, though ceramic lamps burning llama fat provided some illumination for evening hours. Agriculture was a central activity, with workers tending the extensive terraces that surround the urban core. These terraces were not merely decorative but highly productive, growing crops such as corn, potatoes, quinoa, and various beans. The terrace design created microclimates that allowed for cultivation of plants that wouldn't normally thrive at this altitude. Food preparation was another constant activity. Archaeological evidence includes numerous grinding stones for processing grains and other food items. Cooking was done in ceramic vessels over open fires, with limited ventilation in the residential structures, suggesting that many meals may have been prepared in outdoor spaces. The Inca diet at Machu Picchu was primarily vegetarian, supplemented with occasional meat. Maize, corn, was particularly important, consumed both as a solid food and processed into chicha, a fermented beverage central to Inca's social and religious life. Isotope analysis of human remains suggests that the elite residents consumed more animal protein, particularly from llamas and alpacas, than the general population. Water management was a daily concern. The sophisticated canal system that brought fresh spring water into the city required regular maintenance to prevent blockages. Similarly, the extensive drainage system needed attention to ensure it functioned properly during the frequent heavy rains that characterized the region. Textile production was another important activity. Spinning, weeding, and sewing were everyday tasks, primarily performed by women. The Incas were renowned for their textiles, which were not only practical items but also served as status symbols, religious offerings, and a form of record keeping. Stoneworking continued even after the major construction was complete. Repairs, modifications, and new construction would have required skilled masons. The sound of stone hammers striking stone chisels would have been a common background noise during daylight hours. Religious observances punctuated daily and seasonal routines. These would have included offerings to the sun, mountain deities, and other gods in the Inca pantheon. Ceremonies marking solstices, equinoxes, and other astronomical events would have been particularly important, with the site's various astronomical alignments coming into play. For the nobles residing at Machu Picchu, days might have included administrative duties, religious ceremonies, and leisure activities. They would have enjoyed better food, finer clothing, and more spacious accommodations than the workers. Their quarters in the urban sector featured superior stonework, better drainage, and prized locations with commanding views. Communication with the outside world was maintained via the extensive Inca road system. Professional runners, called chasquis, carried messages throughout the empire, relaying information between Machu Picchu, Cusco, and other administrative centers. These messengers could cover impressive distances, with fresh runners taking over at stations placed along the routes. Trade and transportation brought necessary goods to the citadel. While many items were produced locally, certain materials, such as obsidian for tools, would have been imported from distant sources. Llama caravans likely carried these goods up the steep mountain paths, along with luxury items for the noble residents. Illness and injury were addressed through a combination of practical medicine and spiritual healing. The Incas had a sophisticated understanding of herbal remedies, surgical techniques, and bone setting. Analysis of human remains from Machu Picchu shows evidence of successful cranial surgeries, with patients surviving the procedure as indicated by bone regrowth. The residents of Machu Picchu likely had limited personal possessions by modern standards. Clothing, simple tools, and perhaps a few ceramic vessels would have constituted the belongings of most inhabitants. The elites would have possessed more elaborate textiles, jewelry made from precious metals or spondylus shell, and ceremonial items reflecting their status. When we imagine daily life at Machu Picchu, it's important to remember that the site we see today is missing many of its original elements. The thatched roofs that once covered the stone buildings have long since disappeared, as have the wooden doors, textiles, and most portable objects. Our view of the ancient citadel is primarily of its skeleton, missing the vibrant details that would have brought it to life 5 centuries ago. Nevertheless, by combining archaeological evidence with historical accounts of Inca life from Spanish chronicles, we can sketch a reasonable picture of daily existence in this mountain sanctuary. It would have been a life defined by hard work, religious devotion, and strong social hierarchies, but also one with moments of celebration, artistic expression, and communion with the natural and spiritual worlds. Now, let's look more closely at some of the specific architectural features and sectors of Machu Picchu, exploring their functions and significance in greater detail. This will help us develop a more comprehensive understanding of how the various parts of the citadel work together as an integrated whole. The main plaza, or Central Plaza, forms the heart of Machu Picchu's urban core. This large open space measures approximately 200 feet by 100 feet and divides the site into its eastern and western sectors. During Inca times, this area would have been a gathering place for ceremonies, community meetings, and possibly markets. It's one of the few truly flat spaces in the otherwise vertiginous landscape of the citadel. The Sacred District, located at the northern end of the urban area, contains several of the most important religious structures. The Temple of the Sun, also called the Torreon, is a semicircular building constructed around the natural rock formation. Its curved wall contains a window precisely aligned to capture the rising sun during the June solstice. Below the temple is a small cave that may have served as a royal mausoleum or location for mummy worship, though no human remains have been found there. Nearby stands the Temple of the Three Windows, with its distinctive large trapezoidal openings facing east toward the rising sun. Adjacent to it is the principal temple, featuring some of the finest stonework at the site, but showing signs of structural settlement that caused one of its walls to lean. This damage likely occurred during construction or shortly after, as there's evidence the Incas attempted to stabilize it. The Intihuatana stone stands on the terraced hill in the Sacred District. This carved granite monolith, whose name means hitching post of the sun in Quechua, rises about 2 feet from its stone base. Its precisely carved angles and planes relate to astronomical observations, though its exact function continues to be debated. Unfortunately, the stone was slightly damaged in 2000 when a crane being used to film a beer commercial fell onto it, chipping a small piece from the top. The royal sector contains what are believed to be the living quarters of the Inca emperor and other high-ranking nobles. These structures feature the finest masonry, with precisely fitted stones and elegant architectural details. Each building contains niches for storage or the display of religious objects, and many have sophisticated drainage systems built into their foundations. The group of the is a large complex that may have served as housing for visitors or administrative functions. Its multiple entryways and chambers suggest it was designed to accommodate groups of people, possibly delegations from other parts of the empire. The layout provided both communal spaces and private rooms, reflecting the Inca attention to spatial hierarchy and function. The residential sector contains numerous smaller dwellings arranged in clusters. These simpler structures would have housed craftspeople, servants, and others who maintained the citadel. The buildings typically feature rougher stonework than the elite areas, though still demonstrating considerable skill in construction. Archaeological evidence suggests these dwellings housed family groups rather than being organized as barracks. The industrial sector, located in the southern part of the urban core, contains workshops where various crafts were practiced. Evidence of stoneworking, pottery making, and textile production has been found in this area. The sector also includes storehouses, or korkas, where food and other supplies would have been kept. The Temple of the Condor features a natural rock formation that has been enhanced with additional stonework to create the outline of a condor with outstretched wings. The condor was one of 3 sacred animals in Inca cosmology, representing the upper world or heavens. Below the wings is a small chamber that may have served for sacrifices or mummification practices. The 16 ritual baths, or fountains, form a cascading sequence through the city. Fresh water from a spring was channeled into the first bath, then flowed sequentially through the others before being directed out of the city. These fountains provided drinking water but also had ceremonial significance, particularly the first fountain, which was likely reserved for the emperor and religious rituals. The agricultural terraces, which wrap around much of the site, represent an engineering achievement as impressive as the buildings themselves. Their construction involved creating retaining walls of stone, then layering crushed rock, gravel, sand, and rich topsoil to create fertile growing areas. This carefully designed system provided excellent drainage while retaining sufficient moisture for crops. The main drain is a sophisticated engineering feature running beneath the central plaza. This underground channel, constructed with precisely fitted stones, carried water from the upper part of the city through the central area and out to the surrounding slopes. It was designed to handle the heavy rainfall that characterizes the region, preventing flooding and erosion that could damage the structures. The prison group, despite its misleading modern name, likely served ritual or storage functions rather than as a jail. It features unusual niches, caves, and stone carving that suggests specialized ceremonial uses. The exact purpose remains unclear, but its unique architecture indicates it held special significance. The sacred rock is a large, flat stone set on a pedestal in an open plaza. Its shape is thought to mirror the outline of Yanitin Mountain visible behind it, demonstrating the Inca practice of creating microcosms of the surrounding landscape. The plaza around it could accommodate large gatherings, suggesting it was a focus for community ceremonies. The unfinished temple contained stones in various stages of preparation, providing valuable insights into Inca construction techniques. It appears that work on this structure was abandoned abruptly, possibly due to the destruction caused by the Spanish conquest. The partially completed walls and stone blocks with visible protrusions used for moving them offer a glimpse into the construction process frozen in time. Beyond the central urban area, several outlying features contribute to our understanding of Machu Picchu. The Sun Gate, or Punku, sits at the southeastern approach to the citadel, marking the end of the Inca Trail. This entranceway provided controlled access to the site and offers spectacular views of the entire complex. The Inca Bridge, located on the western side of Machu Picchu, represents an alternative route to the citadel. This narrow path cut into the steep mountainside included a removable bridge section made of logs, which could be withdrawn to prevent enemy access. This defensive feature supports the idea that while Machu Picchu wasn't primarily a fortress, security considerations were nonetheless important in its design. The funerary rock is a carved stone outcropping that may have been used for mummy display or other mortuary practices. The Incas preserved the bodies of their rulers and important ancestors, bringing them out for special ceremonies and consulting them as oracles. This rock, with its carved steps and platforms, could have served as a stage for such activities. Huayna Picchu, the distinctive peak that forms the backdrop of classic Machu Picchu photographs, also contains significant structures. A steep, narrow stairway of approximately 360 steps leads to various buildings and terraces near its summit. The Temple of the Moon, a stone structure built partly inside a natural cave on the far side of the mountain, represents one of the more mysterious and less visited features of the greater Machu Picchu complex. These various sectors and structures, each with their specific functions, work together to create an integrated urban environment that serves multiple purposes: residential, agricultural, administrative, and ceremonial. The overall design reflects the Inca ability to create built environments that responded to both practical needs and cosmological principles, harmonizing human activity with the natural and spiritual worlds. Now, let's explore the ancient religious and astronomical practices associated with Machu Picchu, delving deeper into how the site functioned as a sacred space within the Inca worldview. The religion of the Incas was a complex system that integrated worship of celestial bodies, natural features, and deified personified ancestors. At the apex of the Inca pantheon stood Inti, the sun god, who was considered the divine ancestor of the Inca ruling lineage. The Sapa Inca, or emperor, was believed to be Inti's direct descendant, giving him both political and religious authority. The orientation and design of many structures at Machu Picchu reflect this emphasis on sun worship. The Temple of the Sun, with its precisely positioned window capturing the June solstice sunrise, exemplifies how architecture was used to connect with solar deities. During the solstice, the first rays of the rising sun would have illuminated specific features within the temple, creating a dramatic display of light that reinforced the Inca's connection to their celestial patron. The Intihuatana stone represents another solar connection. While often described simplistically as an astronomical clock, its purpose was likely more complex. Some scholars believe it served as a kind of ritual anchor point, symbolically tying the sun to the earth to ensure it would continue its annual cycle. During the equinoxes, the stone casts little to no shadow at noon, demonstrating the Inca's precise astronomical knowledge. Beyond solar observations, evidence suggests the Incas at Machu Picchu tracked lunar cycles and possibly the movements of certain stars and planets. The Temple of the Three Windows, facing east toward the point where the sun rises at the December solstice, may have framed other celestial events as viewed from specific observation points. These astronomical alignments weren't merely scientific observations, but integral to religious practices and agricultural planning. Water worship was another significant aspect of Inca religion evident at Machu Picchu. The elaborate fountain system, channeling water from a sacred spring through 16 sequential baths, reflects the reverence for this life-giving element. During periods of drought, special ceremonies would have been performed to appeal to water deities for rain, while other rituals would have thanked these gods for continued abundance. The surrounding mountains were themselves objects of worship. Mountains, or apis, were considered powerful deities that controlled weather patterns and protected local communities. Some of the structures at Machu Picchu are positioned to align with significant peaks, creating visual relationships between the built and natural environments. The sacred rock, for example, appears to mirror the profile of Mount Yanitin behind it, creating a microcosmic representation of the sacred landscape. Ancestor worship was another crucial element of Inca religion practiced at Machu Picchu. The Incas mummified their rulers and important nobles, treating these remains as still living entities that could be consulted and that required regular offerings. Certain spaces at Machu Picchu, particularly caves and specially designed niches, may have housed mummy bundles during important ceremonies. Connecting with these ancestors would have been an important function of the site. Religious ceremonies societies at Machu Picchu would have followed the complex ritual calendar of the Inca Empire. Major festivals marked key astronomical events, particularly solstices and equinoxes. Inti Raymi, the June solstice celebration honoring the sun god, was particularly important. This 9-day festival involved fasting, processions, ritual bathing, animal sacrifices, and the sharing of food and chicha beer. Offerings were an essential part of Inca religious practice. These ranged from simple daily offerings of food, drink, and cocoa leaves to elaborate sacrifices on special occasions. Archaeological excavations at Machu Picchu have uncovered evidence of offerings including ceramics, textiles, figurines, and marine shells brought from distant coastal regions. The practice of Capicoca, or child sacrifice, was the most solemn offering in Inca religion. Children selected for their physical perfection were taken to high mountain locations, given an intoxicating drink, and left to die from exposure. While there's no definitive evidence of human sacrifice at Machu Picchu itself, the surrounding mountains may have been sites for such rituals during times of crisis or major imperial transitions. Religious specialists would have played important roles at Machu Picchu. These included the High Priest of the Empire, the Vilak Umlu, as well as various diviners, healers, and observers of natural phenomena who interpreted signs from the gods. Female specialists, including the Mamakuna, chosen women dedicated to serving Inti and other deities, likely performed rituals involving weaving sacred textiles and preparing ritual food and drink. The integration of religious practice with everyday life was a hallmark of Inca culture. The agricultural calendar was synchronized with the ritual calendar, with ceremonies marking the times for planting, irrigating, and harvesting. Even construction activities incorporated ritual elements, with offerings placed in building foundations and ceremonies marking the completion of important structures. The layout of Machu Picchu itself embodies Inca cosmological principles. The site is often described as being divided into an upper Henan sector associated with the celestial realm and a lower Huron sector connected to the earth and underworld. This division reflects the Inca understanding of cosmic duality and complementary opposition, a concept called Yanitan that permeated their worldview. The religious significance of Machu Picchu helps explain the extraordinary care and resources devoted to its construction. As a sacred landscape where humans could communicate with deities and ancestors, its precise stonework, careful astronomical alignments, and integration with natural features all serve to strengthen these connections. Every aspect of design and construction was imbued with spiritual meaning, making Machu Picchu not just a physical settlement but a cosmological statement in stone. Let Let's now explore the fascinating field of archaeoastronomy at Machu Picchu, examining how recent research has deepened our understanding of the site's astronomical alignments and their significance. Archaeoastronomy is the interdisciplinary study of how people in the past understood and used the phenomena in the sky, and how these understandings influenced their cultural practices. At Machu Picchu, this field has revealed sophisticated astronomical knowledge embedded in the site's architecture and layout. One of the most significant astronomical alignments occurs at the Temple of the Sun during the June solstice. On this day, which marked the Inca New Year, the rising sun shines through a window in the curved wall, illuminating a specific spot within the temple. This alignment is too precise to be accidental, demonstrating the Inca's ability to incorporate celestial events into their architecture with remarkable accuracy. The December solstice, marking the opposite point in the solar year, appears to have been marked by alignments with the Temple of the Three Windows. From certain observation points, the rising sun of the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere would have been visible through these large trapezoidal openings, creating another dramatic visual connection between architecture and astronomy. The equinoxes, when day and night are of equal length, were also important in the Inca calendar. Several structures at Machu Picchu appear aligned to mark these events, including the Intihuatana stone. Around the equinoxes, this carved monolith casts distinctive shadow patterns that change rapidly as the sun moves across the sky. Recent research using computer modeling has identified additional, more subtle astronomical alignments throughout the site. For example, certain doorways and windows frame the rising or setting sun on significant dates, while other architectural features align with particular stars or constellations. These alignments would have served both practical and ceremonial purposes, helping to mark the passage of time and connect human activities with cosmic cycles. The Pleiades star cluster, known as Coca storehouse in Quechua, held special significance in Inca astronomy. Its appearance and disappearance in the night sky marked important agricultural transitions. Some researchers have identified potential observation points at Machu Picchu specifically oriented toward the position where this distinctive cluster rises. Lunar observations were also important in the Inca calendar. The moon goddess, Mama Kuya, was considered Inti's wife and held significant status in the pantheon. Certain architectural features at Machu Picchu may have been designed to track the complex cycle of lunar standstills, which occur every 18.6 years when the moon reaches its maximum and minimum declinations. The mountain backdrop surrounding Machu Picchu creates a natural astronomical observatory. The peaks and valleys of the horizon form reference points against which celestial movements could be tracked with precision. This integration of natural landscape features features with astronomical observation demonstrates the holistic approach the Incas took to understanding their place in the cosmos. Astronomically aligned architecture served multiple purposes in Inca society. At the practical level, it helped mark the agricultural calendar, indicating when to plant, irrigate, and harvest crops. At the religious level, it connected humans with cosmic deities through dramatic displays of light and shadow. Politically, it demonstrated the ruler's ability to predict and seemingly control celestial events, reinforcing his status as Indy's representative on Earth. The precision of these astronomical alignments is all the more impressive considering they were achieved without written records or mechanical measuring devices. The Incas relied on careful observation over generations, developing a sophisticated understanding of celestial patterns that they incorporated into their sacred architecture. This knowledge was transmitted through oral tradition and practical demonstration rather than written text. Modern visitors to Machu Picchu during solstices and equinoxes can still witness some of these astronomical phenomena, though access to certain areas may be restricted. Experiencing these alignments firsthand provides a powerful connection to the Inca understanding of time, space, and the cosmos, a worldview literally built into the stone of this extraordinary site. Let's now turn our attention to the conservation challenges facing Machu Picchu and the efforts being made to preserve this irreplaceable World Heritage Site for future generations. The very features that make Machu Picchu so remarkable, its remote mountain location, its integration with the natural environment, and its extraordinary stonework, also create significant conservation challenges. The site faces threats from natural processes, climate change, tourism pressure, and development in the surrounding region. Erosion is a constant concern in this steep, rainy environment. The mountainside on which Machu Picchu sits is inherently unstable, with landslides an ongoing risk. The Inca agricultural terraces actually serve an important role in stabilizing the slope, and their maintenance is crucial for the site's physical preservation. The region's heavy seasonal rainfall, with precipitation exceeding 77 inches annually, puts enormous pressure on the ancient drainage systems. While remarkably effective, these systems require regular maintenance to prevent blockages that could lead to flooding and damage to structures. Conservation teams must clear channels, repair damaged sections, and monitor water flow throughout the rainy season. Vegetation management presents another challenge. The rapid growth of plants in this humid environment can quickly overwhelm structures if not controlled. However, removing vegetation must be done carefully to avoid destabilizing slopes or damaging stonework. Conservation teams must strike a delicate balance between clearing problematic growth and maintaining the plants that help secure the terrain. The stonework stonework itself, though remarkably durable, faces various threats. Microbiological growth, including lichens, mosses, and fungi, can gradually deteriorate stone surfaces. Daily temperature fluctuations cause thermal stress as stones expand and contract, potentially widening existing cracks. Even the carbon dioxide inhaled by thousands of visitors can affect stone chemistry over time. Tourism impact represents one of the most significant conservation challenges. The physical presence of over 1 million visitors annually creates wear-on pathways, stairs, and structures. Areas with high foot traffic show noticeable erosion, and some visitors, despite regulations, touch or sit on ancient stonework, potentially causing incremental damage. Climate change is exacerbating these challenges. Rising temperatures are altering the cloud forest ecosystem surrounding the site. Changing precipitation patterns, including more intense rainfall events, put additional stress on drainage systems and increase landslide risks. More frequent extreme weather events could potentially damage structures that have stood for centuries. In response to these threats, Peruvian authorities and international organizations have implemented comprehensive conservation programs. The Master Plan for Machu Picchu, developed in collaboration with UNESCO, provides a framework for site management, conservation, and sustainable tourism development. Physical conservation work includes regular monitoring of structural stability, careful cleaning of stonework, drainage maintenance, and targeted restoration projects. Teams of archaeologists, engineers, and conservation specialists employ both traditional techniques and modern technology to address specific problems. Visitor management strategies have evolved to reduce tourism impact while maintaining access. These include designated pathways, limited entry tickets, mandatory guides, and specific time slots for entry. The controversial but necessary visitor cap, currently set at 2,500 people per day, helps prevent overcrowding and excessive wear. Technology is playing an increasing role in conservation efforts. Drones equipped with cameras and sensors provide detailed monitoring of inaccessible areas. Digital modeling creates precise records of structures, allowing conservators to track subtle changes over time. Ground-penetrating radar and other non-invasive techniques help identify hidden structural issues before they become critical. Educational initiatives for both visitors and local communities form another important aspect of conservation. By helping people understand the site's significance and fragility, these programs aim to foster respectful behavior and support for preservation efforts. Training programs for local guides emphasize both accurate interpretation and conservation awareness. The surrounding landscape also requires protection. The 32,592-hectare historic sanctuary of Machu Picchu encompasses the archaeological site and the surrounding ecosystem. Conservation efforts include reforestation projects, monitoring of wildlife populations, and controls on development in the buffer zone. Transportation infrastructure presents particular challenges. The switchback road that buses use to bring visitors from Aguas Calientes to the site entrance requires careful maintenance to prevent erosion and landslides. Proposals for alternative access methods, including cable cars, have been controversial, with concerns about both environmental impact and visual intrusion on the historic landscape. Balancing economic development with conservation creates ongoing tensions. Tourism is vital to the regional economy, providing livelihoods for thousands of people. However, unregulated growth of tourism services and infrastructure threatens both the archaeological site and its natural setting. Sustainable development policies seek to address these competing interests. Funding for conservation remains a persistent challenge. While ticket revenue is substantial, the costs of proper conservation, research, and site management are enormous. International organizations provide additional support, but ensuring consistent, adequate funding for conservation work requires ongoing attention. Despite these challenges, the conservation outlook for Machu Picchu remains cautiously positive. The site has survived 5 centuries of exposure to a challenging climate, and modern conservation techniques continue to improve. With proper management, ongoing research, and sustainable tourism practices, this extraordinary cultural treasure can be preserved for future generations to experience and appreciate. The story of Machu Picchu, its construction, abandonment, rediscovery, and ongoing conservation offers powerful lessons about human creativity, resilience, and our relationship with the natural world. As we conclude our exploration of this remarkable site, let's reflect on its broader significance and enduring legacy. Machu Picchu stands as a testament to human ingenuity and harmony with nature. Unlike modern development that often imposes itself upon the landscape, the Incas created a built environment that works with the natural topography, hydrology, and ecosystems of the mountain ridge. This harmonious integration offers a powerful model for sustainable design that remains relevant in our era of environmental challenges. The extraordinary craftsmanship evident throughout Machu Picchu reminds us of what humans can achieve through patience, precision, and collective effort. Without modern technology or even basic tools like the wheel, the Incas created structures of such quality that they have withstood centuries of earthquakes, rain, and tropical growth. Their achievement challenges our assumptions about the necessary conditions for architectural excellence. Machu Picchu also illustrates how cosmology, religion, and science can be integrated rather than separated. For the Incas, astronomical observations weren't just scientific data but connections to deities and guides for agricultural and ritual life. Their sophisticated understanding of celestial cycles was expressed through architecture that served both practical and spiritual purposes, demonstrating how knowledge and belief can reinforce rather than contradict each other. The site provides a window into a civilization that developed entirely independently from Eurasian influences. While Europeans long considered their architectural and engineering traditions superior, Machu Picchu demonstrates that parallel innovations emerged in the Americas. Its extraordinary stonework, urban planning, and hydraulic systems represent a unique technological path worthy of study and admiration. The abrupt end of Inca civilization following European contact serves as a sobering reminder of cultural vulnerability. Within a generation of Machu Picchu's abandonment, the sophisticated knowledge systems that created it were largely lost. This historical rupture highlights how quickly accumulated wisdom can disappear and underscores the importance of cultural preservation in our increasingly homogenized world. For contemporary Andean peoples, Machu Picchu represents both cultural heritage and ongoing spiritual significance. Many indigenous communities maintain connections to traditional beliefs about sacred mountains, celestial deities, and the living power of natural features. Their relationship with the site offers a powerful counterpoint to purely archaeological or tourist perspectives. Machu Picchu also embodies the complex legacy of archaeological discovery and interpretation. Hiram Bingham's expeditions reflect both the genuine scientific curiosity and the cultural assumptions of his era. The subsequent history of research at the site traces the evolution of archaeological methods and ethics, including increased respect for indigenous perspectives and more careful approaches to cultural heritage. As one of the world's most recognized archaeological sites, Machu Picchu raises important questions about who owns cultural heritage and how it should be shared. The long dispute between Peru and Yale University over artifacts removed by Bingham highlighted tensions between scientific study and national patrimony. Its resolution through the return of these items to Peru represents an important precedent for similar cases worldwide. The tourism phenomenon at Machu Picchu illustrates both the benefits and challenges of cultural heritage tourism. While visitor interest generates revenue, raises awareness, and supports conservation, it also creates physical impacts and risks commodifying sacred spaces. The ongoing efforts to balance access with preservation represent a microcosm of similar struggles at heritage sites globally. Finally, Machu Picchu reminds us that civilizations, no matter how sophisticated, are impermanent. The Incas created a vast empire that they believed would endure forever. the century of Machu Picchu's construction, their world had been transformed beyond recognition. This historical perspective offers humility and perhaps wisdom as we consider our own civilization's achievements and vulnerabilities. As we conclude our journey through the history, architecture, culture, and meaning of Machu Picchu, we can appreciate why this remarkable site continues to captivate the imagination of people worldwide. More than merely a beautiful ruin in a spectacular setting, it represents a profound human achievement, a bridge between cultures and eras, and an enduring source of wonder. May it continue to inspire, challenge, and teach us for generations to come. As the mist rises from the valleys surrounding Machu Picchu, revealing the ancient stones in the morning light, we are reminded of the enduring power of human creativity, spiritual vision, and connection to the natural world. In this remarkable place, the achievements of the past continue to speak to us across the centuries, inviting us to listen, learn, and wonder.